because the autopilot didn't detect the fire truck correctly. Oh no.
They argue that Tesla's marketing led Giovanni to believe the car was capable of driving itself safely. Instead of issuing recalls to fix known issues, Tesla has continued to release software updates that do not fully resolve the problem. The lawsuit highlights Tesla's history of overstating the safety of its self-driving features. Between 2015 and 2022, the company received over 1,000 reports of autopilot-related crashes and 3,000 complaints about sudden acceleration or braking. Despite this, Tesla continues to market the technology as near perfect. Musk himself has repeatedly made bold claims about Tesla's self-driving capabilities. In 2014, he stated that drivers would soon be able to travel from a highway on-ramp to an exit without touching the controls. In 2016, he claimed autopilot was probably better than a human driver. Statements like these convinced many, including Giovanni, that the technology was safer than it actually was. The Mendoza family argues that Tesla failed to provide adequate warnings about the limitations of autopilot. They believe Giovanni would have been more cautious if he had known the system's weaknesses. Instead, Tesla's marketing created the illusion of reliability, leading to a preventable accident. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, or NHTSA, has been investigating Tesla's autopilot system due to multiple crashes involving emergency vehicles. Over 6 years, 16 such incidents have been reported, leading to 15 injuries and 1 death. The agency is looking into whether Tesla's claims about autopilot's capabilities have misled consumers. The Mendoza family's lawsuit is about more than just Giovanni's case. It raises broader concerns about the safety of self-driving technology.
Okay, so which is person in the
While the idea of autonomous vehicles is appealing, this case shows that the technology is still developing and can pose serious risks. For now, the lawsuit remains unresolved. The Mendoza family continues to seek accountability, hoping to prevent similar tragedies in the future. Their case serves as a crucial reminder that while technology can enhance safety, companies must be honest about its limitations. Until then, drivers must remain vigilant, no matter how advanced their vehicle may seem. It was a quiet morning in 2022 when 34-year-old Landon Embry set out on his motorcycle for what seemed like an ordinary ride. He had spent years exploring Utah's open roads with his beloved Harley
$839 billion?
Davidson.
Jesus Christ.
Riding wasn't just a hobby for him. It was something he deeply loved. But this ride would be his last. Landon was known for his kind and loyal nature. As the oldest of 4 siblings, he was always there for his family. He attended his niece's soccer games, supported his siblings, and never hesitated to help anyone
Oh my
in need.
God.
Just days before the accident, he had surprised his mother Sandy with flowers, a simple but heartfelt gesture. That morning, Landon was riding south on Interstate 15 near Draper, Utah. At the same time, a 2020 Tesla Model 3 was traveling in the same direction with its autopilot system engaged. Tesla's semi-autonomous driving feature is designed to assist with speed and steering, but still requires the driver's full attention. According to reports, the Tesla driver was extremely fatigued and not fully aware of their surroundings. The car, moving at 75 to 80 miles per hour, crashed into the back of Landon's motorcycle. The impact threw him off his bike, and he lost his life instantly. When authorities arrived, they found Landon's body on the side of the road. His family was devastated when police knocked on their door to deliver the heartbreaking news. The crash raised serious concerns about Tesla's autopilot system. The driver told the Utah Highway Patrol that they hadn't noticed Landon before the collision. This raised questions about the effectiveness of Tesla's technology. The system, designed to detect vehicles and prevent accidents, had failed to recognize Landon's motorcycle. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, or NHTSA, launched an investigation into the incident. This was not the first time Tesla's autopilot had been involved in a serious crash. In fact, since 2016, the NHTSA has been investigating more than 30 similar cases, some of which have also resulted in fatalities. Landon's accident became the 38th case under federal review, highlighting ongoing concerns about the technology. Landon's family, overwhelmed with grief, decided to take legal action. They filed a lawsuit against Tesla, arguing that the autopilot system was flawed and unsafe. They claimed that the technology had failed to detect motorcycles properly, something that had reportedly happened in previous cases. The lawsuit also focused on the actions of the Tesla driver. Landon's family insisted that the driver should have been paying full attention to the road instead of relying on the autopilot system. While Tesla markets its system as advanced, it is still just a driver assistance tool, not a fully autonomous feature. The case quickly gained public attention. Many people took to social media, expressing frustration over the risks associated with self-driving technology. Landon's close friend, Samuel Case, shared his anger online, saying that his friend had lost his life because of a system that wasn't ready for real-world use. Landon's death was not an isolated incident. Tesla's autopilot had been linked to multiple crashes, and experts were beginning to question whether the technology was truly safe. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration had opened several investigations into similar accidents, including 3 Tesla crashes in just 1 month. The problem seemed to be particularly concerning for motorcyclists, as Tesla's system reportedly struggled to detect smaller vehicles. As the lawsuit progressed, Landon's family made it clear that they wanted more than just justice for their loved one. They wanted Tesla to improve its technology to prevent similar accidents in the future. They also believed the driver should take responsibility for failing to stay alert. Tesla, however, remained silent on the matter, refusing to comment on the case. The driver of the vehicle was not immediately charged, and it was unclear whether they would face legal consequences. For Landon's family, the pain of losing him was made worse by the knowledge that his death could have been prevented. Friends and loved ones shared stories about his kindness and generosity. His sister Lindsay spoke about how he had always been there. His parents, Sandy and Lloyd, struggled to cope with the reality of life without their son. While the investigation into Tesla's autopilot system is still ongoing, Landon's tragic death has fueled an important conversation about the future of self-driving technology. His family hopes that by speaking out, they can push for changes that will make the roads safer for everyone, especially motorcyclists, who remain among the most vulnerable. Only time will tell whether Tesla will be held accountable. But one thing is clear. Landon Embry's story has become part of a much larger debate, one that is far from over. It was the morning of August 26, 2015 in Roanoke, Virginia. For viewers of WDBJ-7, it seemed like a regular broadcast. Reporter Allison Parker, 24, and cameraman Adam Ward, 27, were conducting a live interview with Vicki Gardner, a local Chamber of Commerce director, at the scenic Smith Mountain Lake in Moneta, Virginia. Allison was known for her vibrant spirit and dedication to journalism, while Adam was valued for his positive outlook and recent engagement to colleague Melissa Ott. Together they were a promising pair, but this routine broadcast quickly turned tragic. At around 6:45 a.m., Allison was mid-interview with Gardner when a man in black approached from behind. The broadcast, initially peaceful, was interrupted by loud, unexpected sounds that threw the scene into chaos. The attacker, later identified as Vester Lee Flanagan, had approached and started shooting. The scene aired live, shocking viewers before the broadcast abruptly ended. Gardner, who was hit, lay still on the ground, hoping to avoid further harm. She survived after undergoing emergency surgery. Tragically, Allison and Adam did not survive. Allison passed away almost instantly, while Adam succumbed shortly after. Viewers in the newsroom were left stunned, struggling to process the tragedy. In the aftermath, the WDBJ-7 team discovered the attacker was a former colleague. Vester Lee Flanagan, who also went by the name Bryce Williams, had once worked as a reporter at WDBJ-7 before leaving in 2013. Known for a history of conflicts and tense interactions with co-workers, Flanagan often displayed volatile behavior and was let go after repeated disputes. Over time, Flanagan had built up resentment toward Allison and Adam. In a manifesto, he outlined grievances against them, though these accusations were found to be baseless. Further investigation showed Flanagan had a similar record of conflicts at previous stations, leading to dismissals elsewhere. Following the incident, Flanagan fled in a rented car. Hours later, he uploaded footage of the event to social media, a move that added to the pain for the victims' families and friends. He also posted instant messages attempting to rationalize his actions. Though investigators concluded his motives were rooted in long-standing personal struggles, rather than any specific incident involving Allison or Adam. Police tracked Flanagan's car on the highway, but before they could apprehend him, he crashed his vehicle. In his final moments, he took his own life, leaving a community devastated by his actions.
Took his own life.
Allison and Adam's deaths had a powerful impact, not only on WDBJ-7 but also across the country. Both were respected young journalists with careers just beginning. WDBJ-7's general manager Jeff Marks expressed the station's heartbreak, noting the deep affection the WDBJ-7 team had for them, and the profound sorrow felt throughout the organization. A memorial honored Allison and Adam, attended by family, friends, and colleagues. Adam's fiancée, Melissa Ott, who had witnessed the event from the control room, was deeply affected. They had been planning a future together, now tragically ended. Allison's father, Andy Parker, expressed his grief, calling her his bright, shining light. Determined to take action, he advocated for reducing harmful content on social media. Mr. Parker worked to have footage of the event removed from platforms, but despite his efforts, it continued to reappear, compounding the family's pain. Mr. Parker filed complaints with the Federal Trade Commission against platforms like YouTube and Facebook, holding them responsible for allowing such content to circulate. He argued that these companies had a duty to shield families from the trauma of seeing such footage repeatedly shared. In 2021, Mr. Parker continued his advocacy, calling for new laws to hold social media companies accountable for managing violent content. He stressed that posting violent content was not free speech. It was harmful, emphasizing the importance of stronger regulations to protect others from similar grief in the future. It was November 22nd, 1963 in Dallas, Texas. Lee Harvey Oswald, a 24-year-old former Marine, stood by a sixth-floor window of the Texas School Book Depository with a rifle. Crowds below had gathered to see President John F. Kennedy's motorcade pass by, unaware they were about to witness one of the most shocking moments in American history. At 12:30 p.m., 3 shots were fired. The first missed, but the second and third struck the president. Kennedy slumped in the back seat of his convertible, his wife Jacqueline at his side. Texas Governor John Connally, who was also in the car, was injured but survived. Kennedy was rushed to Parkland Memorial Hospital, where he was pronounced dead at 46. News of his death quickly spread, leaving the nation and the world in shock. Oswald, accused of committing the act, had lived a complicated and turbulent life. Born in New Orleans on October 18, 1939, he lost his father before birth, leaving his mother Marguerite to raise him and his brothers alone. The family moved often between New Orleans and New York. As a teenager, Oswald became withdrawn and became interested in socialist and communist ideologies, beliefs that would shape his future. In 1956, Oswald joined the U.S. Marines, where he demonstrated skill in marksmanship, but often faced disciplinary issues. His fascination with communism only grew during this time, leading him to defect to the Soviet Union in 1959. Oswald settled in Minsk, where he married Marina Prusakova, a Russian woman. However, dissatisfaction with life in the USSR led him to return to the U.S. with his family in 1962. Once back in America, Oswald's behavior became increasingly concerning. He supported pro-Cuba movements, acquired firearms, and attempted to target a prominent public figure, General Edwin Walker, in April 1963, though he was unsuccessful. By the time of Kennedy's visit to Dallas, Oswald was working at the Texas School Book Depository and had reportedly brought his rifle to work on that day. After the shots rang out, Oswald fled the scene. When Dallas police officer J.D. Tippit confronted him, Oswald allegedly acted in self-defense and managed to escape, only to be apprehended later in a nearby theater. The nation was desperate for answers, but the story was far from over. On November 24, 1963, as Oswald was being transferred from the Dallas police headquarters to the county jail, millions watched live on television as Jack Ruby, a local nightclub owner, approached and fatally shot Oswald in front of cameras. Oswald was rushed to Parkland Memorial Hospital, where he was pronounced dead. Jack Ruby was a familiar figure in Dallas's nightlife scene and had connections with local law enforcement. Born Jacob Rubenstein, Ruby ran several clubs and had a complex reputation. His reasons for ending Oswald's life led to numerous theories. While Ruby claimed his actions stemmed from deep sadness over the president's passing, many believed he might have been trying to prevent Oswald from revealing more about the events of November 22nd. Ruby's trial in 1964 drew national attention. His lawyer, Melvin Belly, argued that Ruby was mentally unstable, an unusual defense strategy at the time. Witnesses, including Ruby's former girlfriend and rabbi, described his emotional turmoil before and after the event. Despite this defense, Ruby was found guilty and sentenced to death. His conviction was later overturned on appeal, and he was granted a retrial. However, Ruby never returned to court. He was diagnosed with cancer while still in prison and died in 1967. With both Oswald and Ruby gone, many questions remained unanswered. The Warren Commission, tasked with investigating the assassination, concluded that Oswald acted alone. However, countless theories emerged over the years, with some suggesting Oswald might have been part of a larger plot involving organized crime, intelligence agencies, or even foreign governments. Others speculated that Ruby's actions might have been motivated by more than grief, hinting at possible cover-ups. Ruby's niece later suggested that her uncle's actions were driven by a mixture of grief and emotional distress, not part of a complex plot. Yet, the live broadcast of Ruby's actions solidified his role in history as the man who ended Oswald's life, adding another layer of mystery to the tragedy. If Oswald had survived to stand trial, he might have shared details that could have changed our understanding of the events surrounding Kennedy's death. Could this have dispelled some of the conspiracy theories that still endure? The events of November 1963, involving the tragic loss of both Kennedy and Oswald, continue to spark debate and curiosity. Even as the Warren Commission's report attempted to offer closure, the mystery surrounding that day in Dallas lingers, keeping this chapter of history alive. It was April 15, 1984 in Westminster, London. British comedian and magician Tommy Cooper, beloved for his towering figure, red fez, and comedic failed magic tricks, was performing live on the variety show Live from Her Majesty's at Her Majesty's Theatre. An audience of 12 million tuned in to see the show. But what they saw instead was a heartbreaking event forever etched in television history. Cooper's act centered on his famous magic cloak routine, where he humorously pulled a series of props from his cloak, each item more surprising than the last. The show's host, Jimmy Tarbuck, assisted Cooper by handing him props behind the curtain, adding to the comedy's timing. The audience laughed as Cooper clumsily handled the items, staying true to his act. Then suddenly Cooper dropped to his knees and remained seated upright. The crowd continued laughing, assuming this was part of his routine. But backstage, his son Thomas and the show's producer, David Bell, grew alarmed. Cooper had chronic back issues, so his son knew he wouldn't have chosen to drop down in this way. The sense of worry backstage deliberated. As Cooper stayed motionless, the broadcast cut to an unscheduled commercial. Cooper had scrambled, and Tarbuck's manager tried to pull Tommy behind the curtain. But it was clear the situation was severe. Tragically, the 63-year-old entertainer had suffered a significant health event in front of millions of viewers, and he would not rise again. The show had to go on. The following performers, Les Dennis and Dustin G., were asked to continue despite their visible shock. They performed carefully, leaving the space where Cooper had collapsed untouched, a memory Dennis would later recount as haunting. Cooper was quickly rushed to Westminster Hospital, where attempts to revive him failed, and he was pronounced dead shortly after arrival. Though official news of his passing came the next day, fans who watched the show knew something terrible had happened. Tommy Cooper's sudden loss shocked the entertainment world. He had been a fixture of British comedy since the 1950s, known for his chaotic but lovable style. Born on March 19, 1921 in Glamorgan, Wales, his talent for humor was evident even during his army service, where soldiers laughed at his failed tricks. His signature phrase, "not like that, like this," became central to his comedic act, and by 1952 his show It's Magic established him as a comedy icon. Over the years, Cooper's reputation only grew. Though he appeared on television less frequently by the early 1980s, his final performance on Live from Her Majesty's became famous for its tragic ending rather than for laughs. In the wake of his passing, people began to wonder if anything could have prevented this tragedy. Some speculated that his lifestyle might have contributed to his health issues, as Cooper was known to smoke and drink heavily. Could his health have been managed differently? The role of the live audience also raised questions. Their laughter, assuming his fall was part of his act, matched the situation's urgency. Had they noticed sooner? Could the show have paused and allowed for a quicker response? These unanswered questions lingered with those there, and for viewers who witnessed it at home. For Cooper's family, the loss was incredibly profound. His wife, Gwen, and children, Victoria and Thomas, were deeply affected by his passing. Tragically, his son Thomas also passed away a few years later due to health issues, adding another layer of grief to the family's history. Despite the sadness surrounding his passing, Tommy Cooper's influence on comedy has remained strong.
I've never heard of that.
His red fez and unique humor are fondly remembered, symbolizing an era of classic entertainment. Many comedians still cite him as an inspiration. Though his final moments were tragic, Cooper's legacy continues to bring joy to audiences. His last performance reminds him of life's unpredictability, a night that began with joy and laughter, ending in a tragic loss that remains a memorable part of television history. It was January 16, 2009, when an unexpected moment on live television left viewers across the world in stunned silence. Israeli journalist Shlomi Eldar was preparing to interview Foreign Minister Tzipi Livni about the war in Gaza when he received a call that would change the course of the broadcast and deeply move everyone watching. The call came from Dr. Izzeldin Abuelaish, a Palestinian doctor who had worked in Israeli hospitals for years. Known for his commitment to peace, Abuelaish never let the region's ongoing conflict cloud his belief in coexistence. But this time, he wasn't calling to talk about hope or his work. His voice trembled as he shared the devastating news that would forever change his life. Izzeldin's anguish poured through the phone as Eldar listened in disbelief. His home in Gaza had been struck in an airstrike, and the devastating news followed. 3 of Izzeldin's daughters and his niece had been killed instantly. Shaken by the raw grief in Izzeldin's voice, Eldar made a split-second decision to put the call on speaker. The entire nation was now able to hear the depth of his pain. In the background, the sounds of his surviving children crying filled the airwaves, adding to the tragedy unfolding. Izzeldin could barely hold it together, his words filled with sorrow as he recalled the futile attempt to save them. He spoke of his desperate efforts and the unbearable loss, questioning the cruelty of the situation. The moment was unlike anything seen before on television. A father, a doctor, a man who had dedicated his life to healing, was now experiencing unimaginable loss, live on air. His cries weren't just those of a grieving parent, they were a plea for an end to the violence. As the world watched, Abuelaish begged for help. Some of his family members were still alive, but with roads blocked and medical aid unable to reach them, their chances of survival grew slimmer by the second. He pleaded with Eldar, desperate for a way to get the injured to safety. The broadcast was raw and unscripted, a stark glimpse into the human cost of war. Eldar, deeply moved, turned to the Israeli Defense Forces, urging anyone listening to help. Viewers across Israel, many of whom had felt detached from the suffering in Gaza, suddenly saw the conflict in a different light. This wasn't just about politics or military operations. These were families, children, and human lives being torn apart. Eldar later reflected on the profound impact of that moment. It was the first time many Israelis were confronted with the faces of those directly affected by the tragedy, and it became impossible for them to ignore the reality of the situation any longer. The tragedy of Abuelaish's daughters, Besson, Meyer, and Aya, left a lasting scar. Besson had been studying business and was actively involved in peace efforts. Meyer dreamed of becoming a doctor, following in her father's footsteps. Aya, the youngest, loved poetry and had a bright future ahead. Their lives were taken in an instant, leaving their father with nothing but memories and an unbearable loss. Despite his pain, Abuelaish refused to let grief turn into hatred. Instead, he used his voice to call for peace. In the years that followed, he wrote a memoir titled I Shall Not Hate, a Gaza doctor's journey on the road to peace and human dignity, where he shared his story and his hope for a future where Palestinians and Israelis could live together without fear. His message resonated worldwide, making him a symbol of resilience. He was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize 5 times, and despite the heartache he carried, he continued to push forward, speaking about the need for understanding and coexistence. That phone call on January 16, 2009, became a moment in history, an unfiltered, heartbreaking glimpse of the real cost of conflict. It wasn't just another news report. It was a father's desperate cry, a wake-up call to everyone watching. And though it couldn't bring back his daughters, it sparked conversations about peace, compassion, and the shared humanity that exists beyond the lines of war. July 15, 1974, in Sarasota, Florida, 29-year-old WXLT-TV news anchor Christine Chubbuck
She committed suicide. So what about that? Because there's even a movie called about that. I haven't watched it. Jesus Christ, Christine, yeah, that brings, yeah, I remember. Back in 1974, a year after Mom was born. She was born in 1973. Well, what happened to Christine Chubbuck? Well, she was on live TV, right? Like any normal news anchor would be. Then she started talking about suicide topics, and while she was doing that, she whipped out a gun, put it behind her ear, and fired. And she was rushed to the hospital, but then hours later she died. Oh my God, yeah, she fired a shot in behind her ear. And the gun was a revolver, so...
Pride at work to host her usual show, Suncoast Digest. Christine was known as a dedicated and professional journalist, passionate about connecting with her audience through community-focused stories. Born in Hudson, Ohio on August 24, 1944, she had worked hard to build her career, studying at Boston University before joining WXLT-TV. However, behind her professional success, Christine was privately struggling. Christine had battled deep depression for years, something known to her close friends and family, who supported her through therapy and counseling. Despite these efforts, Christine's inner pain remained unresolved. In her personal life, she often felt isolated. She humorously started a dateless wonder club for students without dates in high school, masking her insecurities with humor. By 29, she was still single, and her mother observed that her loneliness impacted her deeply. This morning, Christine requested that her live broadcast be recorded, an unusual step that raised no alarms among her colleagues. She then wrote a script for her segment, departing from the show's typical informal style. Still, her colleagues didn't see anything unusual in her behavior. At 9:30 a.m., Christine went live at the anchor desk, starting the program with a brief news segment. She calmly read through the stories, maintaining her usual professional tone. A technical glitch caused a short break, leading to dead air. Then, looking directly into the camera, she made a startling announcement. Moments later, Christine took drastic action on live television, shocking the station. The control room was silent as everyone struggled to comprehend what happened. Technical director Linford Rickard initially believed it was a dark joke. Rushing to the studio, he found Christine unresponsive at her desk. The station immediately cut the broadcast, and staff called for emergency help. It was a regular Friday in late September 2012 near Phoenix, Arizona, when a shocking live broadcast captured a high-speed chase that ended in tragedy. Viewers of Fox News were in for a grim surprise as they witnessed events unfold in real time. At the center of this chase was Joden Frank Romero, a 33-year-old Phoenix resident with a long history of criminal behavior. Romero had a problematic past, marked by numerous charges ranging from drug possession to assault. His life was filled with hardship and tragedy. He witnessed his brother's death at age 16, lost his father to cancer shortly after, and saw his mother and stepfather die in a violent home invasion when he was just 20. Over time, his actions grew more dangerous, though no one anticipated what would happen next. On September 28, 2012, around 10:45 a.m., Romero tried to carjack a man named Avalos Hernandez at a Denny's parking lot in Tonopah. Threatening Hernandez with a Glock 45, Romero demanded his car keys. Terrified, Hernandez handed them over and alerted the police from inside the restaurant as Romero sped away in the stolen car, setting off a pursuit across the Arizona desert. The Phoenix Police Department quickly mobilized to follow him. At first, they pursued directly, but Romero's reckless driving forced them to take a safer approach, tracking him from a distance with unmarked cars and a helicopter. Soon after, Fox News began broadcasting the chase, picking up the feed from their Phoenix affiliate. Romero's actions grew more intense. He fired shots from the moving car, even aiming at the helicopter trailing him. Officers were concerned about public safety and trying to avoid confrontation. Near 44th Avenue and Roosevelt, he fired at undercover officers on the side of the road. Though bullets hit one of their vehicles, the officers were unharmed. Romero continued, seemingly unwilling to stop. Eventually, near 500th Avenue, he pulled off the highway and got out of the car. An officer fired a shot that missed, and Romero took off on foot. What happened next was shocking and tragic, broadcast live for millions. Romero paused, looked disoriented, and then reached into his jacket, pulling out a gun. He pointed it to the side of his head, and in a sudden disturbing moment, he ended his own life. The Fox News feed captured the incident, shocking viewers and anchor Shepard Smith. Smith, who was narrating the chase, was horrified by what unfolded on screen. Although a delay had been set up to prevent such a broadcast, it failed, and viewers saw everything. Smith later apologized, explaining that they had attempted to avoid this type of incident, but a severe error caused the footage to go live. The public reaction was swift and furious. Outraged viewers criticized Fox News on social media, condemning the lack of precaution for such a disturbing scene. Michael Clementi, Fox's executive vice president, formally apologized, citing human error for the broadcast failure. The effects of this broadcast were profound and deeply personal for Romero's family. His 3 children, aged 9, 13, and 15, learned about the incident at school. Driven by curiosity and concern, they searched for the footage online and were horrified to discover that the man in the video was their father. This trauma had lasting effects on them. Their mother, Angela Rodriguez, later filed a lawsuit against Fox News, claiming her children had suffered severe emotional distress, including symptoms of PTSD. However, the case was dismissed as the court found that Fox News was protected under the First Amendment. Romero's sister, Nature, also pursued legal action against the network, citing emotional distress caused by the broadcast. Her case, too, was dismissed in court. The incident not only left Romero's children emotionally scarred, but also sparked a national debate about the responsibilities of live news coverage. While Fox News expressed regret, the broadcast left an impact and raised questions about ethical practices in media. On 14th, 2008, a live television broadcast in Miyazaki, Japan, took a shocking turn that would forever change the life of one man and deeply impact an entire community. The event was part of Jaga Jaga Tengoku, a popular television program known for showcasing local traditions in a fun, lighthearted way. That day's segment featured a unique competition called Butt Sumo, where participants playfully shoved each other in a large styrofoam ring. Began broadcasting the chase. Hernandez handed them over and alerted the police from inside the restaurant, as his life was filled with Heart 2012 near Phoenix, Arizona, when a shocking live broadcast captured a high-speed chase that ended in tragedy. Viewers of Fox News were in for a grim surprise as they witnessed events unfold in real time. At the center of this chase was Joden Frank Romero, a 33-year-old Phoenix resident with a long history of criminal behavior. A disturbing moment. His 3 children, aged 9, 13, and 15, learned about the incident. He was conscious but completely unable to move or speak. As panic set in, people tried to shake him awake, unknowingly making things worse. Medical professionals later criticized the response, noting that rough movements could have further aggravated his injuries. Moments later, emergency teams arrived and rushed him to a hospital in Kumamoto. In his car keys, the 3-year-old Phoenix footage of live news coverage. Announcer Maiko Kanishi, assuming he was joking, playfully poured more mud on his head. But when Yanagita remained motionless, the realization hit. This was no act. He was conscious but completely unable to move or speak. As panic set in, people tried to shake him awake, unknowingly making things worse. Medical professionals later criticized the response, noting that rough movements could have further aggravated his injuries. Moments later, emergency teams arrived and rushed him to a hospital in Kumamoto. Doctors delivered devastating news. Yanagita had suffered a severe cervical spine injury, leaving him with a 99% chance of permanent paralysis. The once energetic announcer now faced a life where even the simplest movements seemed impossible. Despite the bleak diagnosis, Yanagita refused to give up. In the hospital, his first concern was not for himself, but for his family. He expressed a deep concern for his mother, asking them to take care of her when he returned. His resilience was clear from the start. Following surgery, he began a grueling rehabilitation process. In the early days, even sitting up was a struggle. His body couldn't regulate blood pressure, causing him to faint frequently. Progress was painfully slow. Nearly a year after the accident, he could lift his arm just a few centimeters.
Frank Romero, he was only 33 as he died. He was a drug dealer. That's why the police robbed him. He was a drug dealer. And he ended up in a police chase. Oh, God. Yeah, and then that police chase ended when he reached into his pocket, grabbed a gun, aimed it at his head and shot himself. And then three kids heard about it at school. They didn't find out that was their father who killed himself. Wait, what? Yeah.
It wasn't much, but it was a start.
His children.
After 10 months in the hospital, Yanagita was allowed to return home in a wheelchair. But his recovery didn't stop there. He continued intensive therapy in Beppu, Oita Prefecture, learning to adapt to assistive devices. Everyday tasks, like shaving or using a computer, became major milestones. 3 years after the accident in 2011, Yanagita made an emotional return to television. He appeared on 24-hour TV Love Saves the Earth, his first time back on screen since the incident. That same year, he passed an information technology certification exam, proving his determination to keep moving forward. By 2012, he was back on air regularly with Mapos, a successor show to Jaga Jaga Tengoku. Though physically limited, his energy remained unchanged. He continued to engage with viewers, sharing stories and local news with the warmth he was known for. Beyond television, Yanagita became an advocate for adaptive sports, particularly boccia, a sport designed for people with physical disabilities. His involvement led to him becoming vice president of the Miyazaki Prefecture Boccia Association, helping to grow the sport and inspire future athletes. Throughout his journey, his family remained his biggest support system. His wife and 2 children stood by him, helping him through the most challenging moments. Their love and encouragement played a crucial role in his ability to push forward. Today, Yanagita continues to inspire. He appears on Miyazaki Genki TV, using his platform to uplift others. Though he faces daily challenges, he insists that his greatest joy is making people smile. His story is one of resilience and hope. Despite unimaginable hardships, he never gave in to despair. His return to television, his dedication to boccia, and his refusal to be defined by his circumstances have motivated countless individuals. What if he had given up? Would we have witnessed such an incredible recovery? His journey proves that even in the face of overwhelming obstacles, perseverance and optimism can lead to extraordinary outcomes. It was January 1st, 2025, when an explosion shook the entrance of the Trump International Hotel in Las Vegas. Around 9 a.m., a Tesla Cybertruck parked outside the hotel suddenly burst into flames, sending debris flying and causing panic among guests and pedestrians.
How did a Cybertruck burst into
This was
flames?
not an accident. It was a planned attack by 37-year-old Matthew Allen Leibelsberger, a United States Army Special Forces soldier. Leibelsberger had prepared for this attack in advance. He rented the Cybertruck and loaded it with fireworks, mortars, gas canisters, and camping fuel, all rigged to detonate remotely. However, before triggering the explosion, he had already taken his own life, using a firearm placed near his feet. At the time of the blast, Leibelsberger was the only one in the vehicle. 7 people nearby were injured, but none critically. The explosion did not cause major damage to the hotel, but it left investigators searching for answers. Authorities later discovered notes and a manifesto left behind by Leibelsberger, revealing his motives. He expressed deep political frustration and personal struggles, stating that his act was meant to grab the nation's attention. He believed that people only reacted to extreme events and saw the explosion as a way to highlight issues he felt were being ignored. His writings also reflected on his military past. particularly his time in Afghanistan. He spoke of the losses he had witnessed and the heavy burden he carried from his service. He had battled severe mental health issues, including post-traumatic stress disorder and depression, made worse by physical injuries from combat, including multiple concussions and back surgeries. Investigators found that Leibelsberger had been planning the attack for weeks. His search history included information about explosives, ammunition, and fireworks regulations in Arizona. He had also documented his preparations, listing his purchases of firearms, camping gear, and other supplies. Despite his final act, Leibelsberger had been highly regarded in the military. He was a decorated combat veteran who served multiple tours in Afghanistan as part of a Green Beret team. His colleagues remembered him as a compassionate and capable leader who risked his life for others. He had even specialized in dismantling explosive devices, an ironic contrast to the way he chose to carry out his attack. His ex-girlfriend, Alicia Artist, shared that he had often spoken about his struggles. He described feeling trapped in his own mind, haunted by his experiences in the military. He had mentioned his ongoing pain, both physical and emotional, and referred to his life as a constant battle. His manifesto revealed a deep disillusionment with the state of the country. He believed that the United States was in decline and saw drastic action as the only way to force change. Though he expressed admiration for President-elect Donald Trump and Tesla Chief Executive Officer Elon Musk, his attack was not directed at any specific individual. Instead, it seemed to be a statement of his overall dissatisfaction with the nation's leadership and direction. Despite the dramatic nature of the explosion, it did not achieve the large-scale destruction he may have intended. While his actions drew attention, they left behind more confusion than clarity. His military peers, who had known him as a loyal and selfless soldier, struggled to reconcile the man they respected with the person responsible for the attack. Authorities continued to investigate the case, including Leibelsberger's use of artificial intelligence tools like ChatGPT in planning the event. His story raises important questions about mental health support for veterans and how to prevent similar tragedies. Many service members return home carrying invisible wounds, struggling to adjust to civilian life. Cases like Leibelsberger's highlight the urgent need for better resources and support systems for those who have sacrificed for their country. On October 24, 2024, a devastating crash in Toronto claimed 4 lives and left one woman fighting to survive. The accident involved a Tesla Model Y, a high-tech electric vehicle known for its safety features. However, on this tragic day, the car became a death trap. The crash happened on Lakeshore Boulevard East at high speed. The driver lost control, causing the vehicle to hit a guardrail before slamming into a concrete pillar. The impact was severe, and within moments the car burst into flames.
Oh my God.
Inside were 5 friends, all trapped as the fire spread rapidly. The Tesla Model Y, like many modern electric cars, relies on electronic door handles that require power to function. After the crash, the doors became unresponsive, making escape nearly impossible. The only survivor, a young woman.
Woman in her 20s, she was the only survivor. What the f... Gee, what are you doing? I'm trying to watch something here. Why? Really take you? Did you? Now you got. That's not even your. That's not even the Firefox browser. You're on it. No, but it's a profile you don't really use one. Yeah, but it has some channels on there that are quite that I actively use. Oh. You turned on one of them is live. Oh, yeah, my vlogs channel, yes. What are you looking for? You look through the video and then you find all my videos. All you have to do is just search my first and last name and then you can find all my videos. All you have to do is search my first and last name and there you have it. All of my videos. No. So you've got a lot of videos studying. Why don't you watch them another time? I mean, there's quite a... Well, no, I'm not planning on watching them all. Oh, okay. So subscribe to the... So I put like Xbox stream, there's quite a few. 3 months ago. The last Xbox stream is from 1 month ago. I haven't been, June 27th. The last stream was on June 27th, the day you... Yeah, truth is ever since you arrived, yeah, the truth is that ever since you arrived, I haven't been on Sunshine Transit since. You know, wonder who's running the company, well, the person that runs the company is me. I'm the one that runs Sunshine Transit. I created it. Oh, okay. So many videos. Yeah, there's a lot of videos. Oh dear. No. What are you doing? I don't see how that's funny, but anyway. What are you doing? 37 minutes long. What is this? Oh, I'm working for my company. My last company. What does it look like I'm doing? What does it look like I'm doing there? Oh, it's the day before they arrived. What do you mean? Jesus! Oh. Oh, dude. That's funny. I'm like, Jesus! I have a lot of bus simulator streams today. A lot of on road rage. Oh, that too, yes. Yeah, that one I was watching you slammed into a truck. Yeah. I don't, what do you mean slam? Oh, yeah, okay. I know what you're talking about. How can I forget the long truck driver that picked the wrong time to pull under the intersection. And I was going at quite the speed, and there's no way I could have, of course I couldn't stop in time, and as you could see in the live stream, so I slammed right into the side of the truck, while going, Jesus! Because there's just so many idiots on the road. And I slammed into the side of the log truck. I mean, they picked up the log truck, dumbass pussy magnet log truck driver, picked the wrong time to pull out into the intersection.
A Canada Post employee who witnessed the crash rushed to help.
Well, how was I supposed to? There's no way I could stop. I couldn't stop in time.
How the woman struggled to open the door, panicking and trying to get out, but the doors wouldn't budge. Thinking quickly, Harper grabbed a metal pole and shattered the window, allowing her to escape. The woman crawled out head first, scrambling to safety. Unfortunately, the other 4 passengers, Jay Sisodia, Digvijay Patel, 25-year-old Neilraj Gohil, and his 29-year-old sister Katava Gohil, were unable to escape.
Oh, no.
Harper initially didn't realize there were others inside because the smoke was so thick. By the time he saw them, the fire had already consumed most of the vehicle. Electric vehicle fires are known to be difficult to extinguish, mainly due to the lithium-ion battery cells. In this case, the intensity of the fire was likely made worse by the impact of the crash. Firefighters have reported that Tesla battery fires require large amounts of water and can take much longer to put out than traditional car fires. The failure of the electronic doors only made things worse. Tesla vehicles have a manual override feature that allows doors to be opened in emergencies, but many owners are unaware of it. Even more concerning, not all Model Y cars have this feature for rear doors, meaning the passengers in the back had no way out. Investigators are still trying to determine the exact cause of the crash, but initial reports suggest the driver lost control before hitting the guardrail and pillar. Tesla has promoted its vehicles as some of the safest in the world, but this incident has raised serious concerns about their design. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, or NHTSA, has already opened investigations into the Model Y, focusing on issues like unintended acceleration and faulty braking systems. Now the attention is shifting to the potential dangers of electronic door locks in emergencies. Safety experts warn that in a chaotic, high-stress situation, most people won't have the time or knowledge to find and use the manual override. For the victims in this crash, their inability to exit the vehicle may have been the difference between life and death. The victims of this tragic accident were young, vibrant individuals with promising futures. Neil Raj and Katava Gohil were siblings, known for their kindness and close bond. Their deaths have left their family and friends heartbroken. Jay Sisodia and Digvijay Patel were also well loved by those who knew them. Their sudden loss has deeply affected their loved ones, who are struggling to come to terms with the horrifying way they lost their lives. The only survivor now faces a long road to recovery, not just physically, but emotionally. She will have to live with the trauma of that day, knowing her friends were trapped inside with no way out. As investigations continue, the focus will remain on Tesla's safety features and whether improvements need to be made. The tragedy has sparked renewed discussions about the risks of electric vehicles and whether manufacturers need to do more to ensure passengers can escape in emergencies. For now, families and friends mourn the loss of 4 young lives, taken far too soon. While the future may bring more clarity about what led to this disaster, nothing can undo the devastating loss suffered on that day. On the night of February 10th, 2024, a tragic accident occurred on a remote ranch in the Texas Hill Country. Angela Chow, Chief Executive Officer of the shipping company Foremost Group and sister-in-law of Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, lost her life in an unforeseen and heartbreaking turn of events. At 50 years old, Angela was a respected business leader and philanthropist, admired for her sharp intellect and leadership in the shipping industry. Angela had invited friends to her family's 900-acre ranch to celebrate the Chinese New Year. The estate was a peaceful retreat with horse stables, a swimming pool, and a guest house where her friends were staying. The day had been filled with laughter and celebration, and as the night progressed, they shared dinner and drinks. Around 11:30 p.m., Angela decided to leave the guest house and return to the main house where her son was sleeping. Instead of walking, she chose to drive the short distance in her Tesla Model X. Security footage captured her walking unsteadily toward her car, showing clear signs of intoxication. Her blood alcohol level was later found to be 0.233, about 3 times the legal limit. At 11:37 p.m., Angela got into her Tesla, but something went wrong. The vehicle moved unpredictably, lurching forward before suddenly reversing. It went over a wooden barrier and plunged into a pond on the property. The car sank rapidly, trapping Angela inside. In a panic, she called a close friend, explaining that she had accidentally reversed instead of driving forward. Water was rising inside the vehicle, and despite her efforts, she couldn't escape. Her voice grew more desperate as she realized she was running out of time. Her friends sprang into action. One jumped into a kayak, paddling toward the sinking car while another swam, trying to reach her. They climbed onto the vehicle, doing everything they could to free Angela, but the water was rising too quickly. Deputies arrived at midnight, but by then, the car had been submerged for over 20 minutes. The ranch manager told them the back door was open, but they struggled to reach Angela. Breaking the windshield failed, so they attempted the driver's side window. Finally, a deputy managed to pull her from the car with help from a medic. Emergency responders performed cardiopulmonary resuscitation in a desperate attempt to save her, but it was too late. Angela was pronounced dead at 1:40 a.m. The accident was a devastating loss for her family, friends, and colleagues. Angela was known for her visionary leadership at Foremost Group, where she was a trailblazer for women in the shipping industry. She was deeply respected for her compassion toward her employees and her commitment to philanthropy. She co-chaired the Asian American Foundation's Advisory Council, working to support the Asian American and Pacific Islander communities. Her father, Dr. James S.C. Chow, described her as a thoughtful and dedicated leader who made a lasting impact. Angela was also a devoted mother, wife, sister, and aunt. Her husband, venture capitalist Jim Breyer, was heartbroken, along with the rest of her family, including her sister Elaine Chow, former United States Secretary of Transportation. Just days before the accident, Angela had enjoyed a concert and quality time with friends, making her sudden loss even more shocking. The tragedy was compounded by the remote location of the ranch, which delayed rescue efforts. Despite the quick response from her friends and authorities, it wasn't enough to save her. Angela's passing resonated beyond her personal and professional circles. Her connection to political leadership brought widespread attention to the incident. While alcohol played a role, authorities confirmed it was an unfortunate accident, leaving those who knew her to mourn both the circumstances of her passing and the loss of an inspiring leader. Though she is gone, Angela Chow's influence in business, philanthropy, and the lives of those who loved her will not be forgotten. 6, 1995, started as a normal day in Lake Orion, Michigan. Scott Amador, a 32-year-old bartender known for his outgoing personality, appeared on The Jenny Jones Show, a daytime talk show famous for its dramatic surprises. He had agreed to participate in a segment called Secret Crush, where guests revealed romantic feelings for someone in their life. Scott's secret crush was 24-year-old Jonathan Schmitz, someone he had known for years. Jonathan had no idea he would be the subject of the surprise. When the reveal happened, he appeared uncomfortable but laughed it off, saying he was definitely heterosexual. The moment seemed lighthearted, and the two men hugged before the segment ended. But what seemed like harmless entertainment on television would soon lead to an unimaginable tragedy. 3 days later, on March 9th, Scott was dead. That morning, he left a playful note in Jonathan's mailbox, possibly hoping to continue their interaction. But instead of laughter, the note triggered something far more serious. Jonathan, feeling embarrassed and overwhelmed, withdrew money from his bank account and bought a shotgun. He then drove to Scott's mobile home in Lake Orion. When Scott answered the door, Jonathan asked if he had left the note. Scott confirmed it, reportedly smiling, unaware of the danger. In a sudden act of rage, Jonathan retrieved the gun from his car and returned. Without warning, he fired twice, hitting Scott in the chest. Jonathan immediately left, drove to a gas station, and called 911. He calmly admitted to what he had done, saying he acted out of humiliation following the television show appearance. Police quickly arrested him, and the shocking case soon became known as the Jenny Jones murder. During the investigation, questions arose about whether Jonathan had been misled by the show's producers. They claimed he had been informed that his secret admirer could be either male or female, but Jonathan insisted he thought it would be a woman. His defense attorneys argued that he acted out of extreme emotional distress, citing his past struggles with mental health conditions. Scott's family was devastated. His brother, Frank Amador Jr., spoke out against both Jonathan and the Jenny Jones Show, believing the producers had exploited Scott for entertainment. The case sparked debates about media responsibility and the ethics of reality television. Jonathan was charged with first-degree murder, but his defense team argued that he had reacted impulsively under pressure. In 1996, he was convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to 25 to 50 years in prison. However, his conviction was later overturned on appeal. After a retrial in 1999, he was found guilty again and sent back to prison. Despite his sentence, Jonathan was released on parole in 2017 after serving 22 years. His release sparked further debate. Some believed he had paid his dues, while others, including Scott's family, felt he had never truly shown remorse. Jeffrey Feger, the Amador family's attorney, criticized the justice system for allowing Jonathan to walk free, especially since he had never issued a public apology. Meanwhile, Scott's family pursued legal action against the Jenny Jones Show and its parent company, Warner Brothers. They argued that the show had irresponsibly set up the segment, creating an embarrassing situation that led to Scott's death. In 1999, the family won a $29.3 million lawsuit. However, the decision was later overturned, with the court ruling that the show could not have predicted what would happen after the episode was filmed. The case remained a significant example of how sensationalized media can have unintended and tragic consequences.
There's also Jenny Jones.
It was revisited in true crime documentaries, including Netflix's Trial by Media and Dark Side of the 90s, which explored how talk shows of that era often prioritized shock value over the well-being of their guests. While the Jenny Jones Show was never legally held responsible, the incident raised lasting concerns about media ethics. Could Scott's life have been spared if Jonathan had been given more information? If the show had taken a different approach, would things have ended differently? The shocking events surrounding Scott Amadeur's death exposed the darker side of reality television, where personal emotions are turned into entertainment, sometimes with irreversible consequences. It was 2016 in Moscow, Russia. A live taping of the popular television show Pro Lubov, or About Love, was in progress. The show, known for its lighthearted content, had something different planned that day. A special performance featuring Vanya, a large brown bear. Dressed in a red and yellow skirt with a matching hat, Vanya's playful appearance made it easy to forget she was still a wild animal. Her handler, dressed in a flamenco outfit, led her onto the stage. Vanya was secured with a muzzle and leash as a precaution. To keep her calm, the handler fed her small treats through the muzzle's opening. The bear obediently performed simple tricks, spinning in circles to the delight of the audience. Everything seemed to be going smoothly until it wasn't. A young presenter on the show, filming a segment about wild animal safety, approached Vanya from behind. Perhaps misjudging the risk, she reached out to touch the bear. In a split second, Vanya reacted. Feeling threatened, she turned sharply and swiped her massive paw at the woman's clothing, pulling her down with surprising force. The studio fell silent. For a brief moment, it seemed the situation might escalate, but Vanya quickly lost interest. Her handler acted swiftly, pulling her away while reprimanding the presenter. The woman, visibly shaken, managed to stand up, her apology barely audible as she muttered a few words. Despite the frightening encounter, the presenter had no visible injuries, but the realization of what could have happened left everyone in shock. Even the cameraman, who had captured the moment, was seen keeping his distance from the bear. The entire crew was reminded that no matter how trained an animal might seem, instincts can take over in an instant. The audience, who had been entertained just moments earlier, now saw the reality of using wild animals in performances. Organizations like People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, PETA, have long warned about the ethical issues surrounding captive bears. Many, like Vanya, were prevented from hibernating, which could affect their physical and mental well-being. This deprivation could lead to unpredictable behavior, especially in colder months. The handler's reaction wasn't just a warning. It was proof that a wild animal, no matter how well trained, is never truly tamed.
Yeah.
Vanya had spent years in captivity, performing for crowds, but that didn't erase her instincts. The television crew had just witnessed firsthand how quickly a controlled environment could turn dangerous. As for the presenter, she was left with a lot to think about. Her segment was supposed to highlight the risks of interacting with wild animals, yet she had just become the perfect example of what not to do. She had been lulled into a false sense of security, distracted by the bear's costume and routine. But beneath the outfit and tricks, Vanya was still a powerful animal capable of serious harm. After the incident, Vanya was safely removed from the set. Thankfully, the situation did not escalate further, but it raised serious concerns about the use of wild animals in entertainment. Even with safety measures in place, the risks could never be fully controlled. This wasn't just a close call, it was a harsh lesson. The event reignited discussions about whether wild animals should be used for public performances at all. The appeal of these creatures on stage was undeniable, but so was the danger. 2011 when Jimmy Savile, a well-known British television personality, passed away at the age of 84. On the surface, he was admired for his eccentric personality, charitable efforts, and long-running career. He raised millions for hospitals, was knighted in 1990 for his contributions, and seemed like a man dedicated to helping others. But after his death, long-standing rumors took a disturbing turn. Investigations uncovered shocking truths. He had used his fame and charitable work to take advantage of at least 500 victims. For decades, he had hidden in plain sight, manipulating the trust of the public while concealing his true nature. Savile was best known for hosting Jim'll Fix It, a show that granted children's wishes from 1975 to 1994. To many, he was a quirky entertainer who brought joy to kids. But behind the scenes, he was using his position to take advantage of young and vulnerable individuals, including those he met through his charity work at hospitals. Born on October 31, 1926 in Leeds, England, Savile was the youngest of 7 children. He often spoke about a tough childhood and distant family relationships. Despite this, he created an image of someone who deeply cared for others, especially children. In the 1960s, he started volunteering at Leeds General Infirmary, a children's hospital. He visited regularly, raised money, and even took a part-time job as a porter in 1968, giving him access to patients. His public image as a generous man fooled many, but behind closed doors, he was taking advantage of those he claimed to be helping. One victim, a 14-year-old boy in a wheelchair, recalled an unsettling encounter with Savile at the hospital. Savile approached him, made a casual remark, then crossed the line. This was just one of many incidents that occurred under the guise of charity work. As his television career flourished, so did his access to more people. He later hosted Top of the Pops, a popular music show featuring young female dancers. It was there that some of his most unsettling actions were later reported. One victim, Sylvia Edwards, remembered an incident from 1976 when Savile inappropriately touched her on live television. When she reported it, she was ignored. Despite growing whispers about his behavior, Savile remained a protected figure in British society. His connections with powerful people, including members of the royal family, allowed him to continue his career without scrutiny. He even advised Prince Charles on public matters and healthcare policies, further solidifying his influence. Many people suspected something was off about Savile, but their concerns were dismissed. It wasn't until after his death that the full scope of his actions was exposed. As police dug deeper, more survivors came forward, revealing that his actions had not been limited to children. Reports surfaced that even adults and elderly hospital patients had been mistreated by Savile during his years of volunteer work. The public's view of him quickly shifted. Once seen as a beloved entertainer and philanthropist, he became a symbol of manipulation and deception. More and more victims spoke out, and the scale of his misconduct became undeniable. A 2013 report by the Department of Health revealed that at least 60 people at Leeds General Infirmary alone had been affected by Savile, with ages ranging from 5 to 75. In total, he had harmed hundreds across multiple hospitals in the United Kingdom. For years, his reputation remained intact, largely due to the reluctance of the media and institutions to expose him. One of the most disturbing aspects of the case was the culture of silence surrounding Savile. Many victims feared speaking out, worried about the consequences or that no one would believe them. Some were threatened, while others remained silent, knowing their claims would likely be ignored. Savile's powerful connections and celebrity status kept him safe for decades. In 2014, multiple investigations confirmed the widespread nature of his misconduct. Survivors continued to come forward, sharing their painful experiences and exposing the shocking truth about a man once celebrated by millions. The case of Jimmy Savile revealed how power and influence can be used to hide terrible secrets. For years, his carefully crafted public persona masked his true actions. He manipulated institutions, silenced those who tried to expose him, and left behind a legacy tainted by the truth that emerged too late. His story is a reminder of the importance of taking accusations seriously, no matter how powerful or respected someone may be. The voices of victims must never be ignored. and systems must be in place to prevent figures like Savile from going unchecked. Sometimes the line between risk and common sense gets ignored. Sometimes the line between risk and common sense gets ignored, and the results can be deadly.